Welcome to Comadres y Comics. Comadres y Comics is a podcast hosted by 3 Latina women.
We highlight the Latinx presence in the comic book industry as creators, characters, and fans.
Join us as we talk chisme, comics, fandom, and beer. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Las Platicas. And today we have a special guest, as we do always. Kristen, take it away.
Yes, welcome to another episode of Las Platicas, a show hosted by Comadres y Comics, where we meet with creators and friends to talk about upcoming projects, events, and all around awesome news in the comic community. Today, we have the incredible opportunity to talk with Hector Gonzalez Rodriguez III, the creator behind Peso Hero, the critically acclaimed independent comic book series that has captured the hearts of readers worldwide. Jazz hands. As the 17th chapter, I can't believe it, 17th chapter, Border
years.
War, wow, makes its debut on Kickstarter. Hector takes us behind the scenes of this latest installment, sharing insights into the creative process, the journey of crowdfunding, and what fans can expect from the next chapter in this action-packed saga. In addition to his work on El Peso Hero, Hector is a passionate advocate for Latinx creators and has been instrumental in initiatives like CHISPA, an imprint of AMP Comics, that elevates Latinx voices in the comic book industry. He's also the co-founder of Texas Latino Comic Con, an event that celebrates and supports Latinx creators, providing them a platform in the larger comic book world. Through both his creative work and his advocacy, Hector has helped pave the way for greater representation in comics. Welcome, Hector!
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm excited to be back, finally.
Honestly, all the stuff I just read, I feel like we're underdressed. Like you're like Latino comic royalty.
Oh, God. No, you mean that, let's reserve that for like Javier Hernandez and Hector Cantu and Lalo, and Los Hermanos.
Well, you definitely have, like I mentioned, so much experience in the comic industry with Latino creators from, different perspectives as a writer, as a publisher, as a convention showrunner, just so many ways that you have had so much success with sharing the voices of Latino creators. So thank you so much for
Well,
all
I'll tell
that
you this, you say success, but, it's about 95% failure. And what you see is that 5%.
The 5%. We don't see the 95% failure rate.
It's like, tell me there's a lot.
Well, that 5% has been awesome. So let's start actually by talking about El Peso Hero. You've, like you said, 14 years. That's amazing. Can you share a bit about the storyline of this current 17th installation, Border War? How does it tie into the overarching narrative of the series?
Yeah, so, funny thing is that I was writing an article last night on my Substack, and I've been using, we can talk about the efficacy of social media, because it's like, you start using one and then you find out about it and you're like, oh God, and then you jump to the other one and you find out, oh my gosh, they're horrible, and it's
yes,
right. I mean, that's a whole conversation, but I read my books, I go back and reread, and then noticing the overarching aspect of the external conflict between United States and Mexico, going all the way back to 1845, American invasion, the Mexican-American War, which is actually part of El Peso Hero's origin. Because when I was writing El Peso Hero, I always believed that it needed to be grounded in history, grounded in our history. And so in this case, we go back to 1845, the invasion of of Mexico City, And you have Los Niños Héroes, the 12 cadets that fought bravely against the American invasion in their school, in their military school. And so from there on, you have the insignia, the belt buckle of Peso Hero that's being handed down with a legend behind it, tied to, Aztec mythology or with Latin aspects, like Latin Spanish aspects to it. And so we go back to that conflict. And then throughout the story of Peso Hero, you have American intervention. Going back to, I started writing when the aspect was when I wrote El Peso Hero Battle of Nuevo Laredo in 2014. You have American Special Forces trying to capture Peso Hero. They grab him, they put him in Black Hawk helicopter, and then it gets shut down. Anyway, so you have these different little seeds, right? And so seedlings, right? And so I just started 2 years ago. I started a new story arc called El Peso Hero Sicario War. And it's a new story arc, and this 17th chapter is the second book out of that story arc.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so, and at the end of Sicario War, you have more of the American helicopters surveying into Mexico, and then you have Mexico has militarized itself more, right? And so. There's these little seeds that I tend to build throughout the story arcs, and now everything's coming to a head. There's a full-on military conflict between United States and Mexico.
Mm-hmm. It's so funny that you mentioned that, because just recently I saw an article about the U.S. government threatening drone strikes on Mexican territory.
Yeah.
When the president just said, like, no, you can't do that. Like, it's like you're basically you're attacking a neighboring country that you're technically allies with.
Jen, I'll tell you this. Okay, so let's look at the history of American bombing other countries, right? Terrorists. Yeah, I guess you can draw. Yeah, okay, bad guys, blah blah blah. But how many of those bad guys were civilians? Right. And so you put that into Mexico. You think they're just going to kill just cartels?
Absolutely.
I mean, these guys are, it's like they're dressed like normal people. So, hopefully it would never it would never happen. But it's going to escalate things, and it's going to be a horrible, destabilizing.
No, when I saw that, I was just like, are we in 2001 again? Like, are we at the start of the war on terror all over again? I was just like, wow, that's awful. So as you were saying that, I was just like, oh my God, reality and fiction once again coinciding together.
And that's the thing. It's like I was writing this, and I'm like, okay, it's something. America's going to intervene into Mexico, and now I did it. I didn't suspect Trump to win again. And so I wrote Border War last year. And so I'm like, I better release it now, just because people are going to say that I'm just following the headline, chasing the headline.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
When it's just like, no, like, these things take time to write and to like create and get it out and done with. It just happens to coincide. Yeah. Which is incredible timing. But with this being the 17th chapter, how has El Peso Hero evolved both in terms of storytelling and art since the first book?
Well, yeah, okay. So I started writing El Peso Hero 2003.
Oh my gosh, Jen, you were a baby.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
in 2003, I was 9 years old.
An author creator, if you know. And that's where I got the idea. I grew up in comics. My dad was in the military. He would bring home Mad magazine, and I used to read them as a kid. But he was a geek. He was like the black he was the black sheep of the family. He was a nerd, build models, reading comics, reading Sergeant Rocks, Howling Commandos, and all that. And so mi abuelita, got rid of his books when he went to college. Yeah, I know. And he went back to my
God, that
books.
hurt.
Yeah. And I'm still like, Grandma, what you do?
Yeah.
Those could have been worth millions now.
I gotta grade them and slap them, put a slap. Gotta grade. Anyway, so and so I had always had the bug, and I was living in the border. I was in Eagle Pass, and then my godmother owned a video rental store. And so I would always go to her place and check out movies, rent movies, VHS tapes. And so it was a good steady stream of Mexican movies, lucha libre movies, anime
Oh,
too.
wow.
Of course.
Japanese, because in Mexico they had, Messenger
Messenger Z.
Messenger Z, yeah. Fuerza G, all that. And so, I would watch. Yeah, I was into this broader world of different cultures, but there were no comic book stores back in the early '90s. There was no. I mean, there were some comics, but they were next to the baseball cards in the video rental places. Where behind the video games, the Nintendo rental, Nintendo games. And so it wasn't until early '90s we moved to Central Texas, which was more suburban. It was completely culture shock. I went from a Latino, I spoke English and Spanish, all Mexican Americans, Mexican, to I was the only Latino kid in my elementary class.
Wow.
Wow.
But this was College Station, Texas, Central Texas. They had comic book stores. So I was like, whoa. And my dad would take us every Friday to a comic book store growing up. And,
Every Friday.
Every Friday.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Let's go. And so, my dad would browse and I would be looking, hey, I'll grab a book with me and my brother, So, and so that's how that love for the medium happened. And then I started developing somebody that was with the Latino Mexican American culture, the Tejano border culture, norteño, all that. And so it needed to be somebody that dressed like your tío, belt buckle, blue jeans, boots, all that. And so, I started developing fighting cartels. Yeah. And so it was 2011 that I started. Well, actually, there's a reason why I started, because I became an educator, and then there was a need too in the libraries for Latino-centric stories, characters, and my students, their parents are being deported too, which was this is 2011, 2010, right? Who was president, right? So it's like and I started doing a Peso Hero as a webcomic.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Webcomic. So it was, I would do a page every 2 weeks, and I would draw it. I would pencil it, and I would talk to Javier too. Javier was kind of coaching me too. We met in MySpace back in the day,
Oh my God.
MySpace.
Was he your top 8?
Flashback.
We were super competitive. But
Early 2000s.
super competitive. Right. Only the cream of the crop made it up to my time.
Only your real friends.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so, and Javier was like, kind of like my Nick Fury, that moment, when Tony Stark at the end, he shows up and Nick Fury's like, you think you're the only one? So Javier was like, you think you're the only Latino creator? Richard Dominguez, Hector Gonzalez, Lalo, he's like, oh. Right.
Kind of open your world there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the development of the character. I think in the interview we had last time with you, I had mentioned to you that El Peso Hero looks like my uncle with the shirt that's half open.
Yeah.
It's always collared shirts, long sleeves. Yeah.
Like El Valiente from La Loteria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what kind of challenges did you face as a creator with working at a long time running series like El Peso Hero?
Gosh, being consistent, and that's the thing. You gotta love the story. You gotta love the character.
Mhm.
That's the thing. Is it's like if you don't love. Yeah, I was doing it for myself. Just because it was an act of social advocacy, political activism too, for the need for immigration reform as well. And then the border violence too, with the criminal organizations as well, because that started to bubble up even in my area in Eagle Pass and Piedras Negras, Coahuila. And I grew up with my abuelita, strong character, love Maria Felix, que was her saying, más cabrona que bonita, or something. Yeah.
Pero ¿por qué no los dos?
Right. Yeah. So it's like, yeah. So, and I actually have Maria Felix character with La Patrona, kind of shows my inspiration.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's so because I remember, I just at my grandma's house, she was watching Maria Felix movies, and so golden age of Mexican cinema, a lot of history. I mean, that's a whole podcast there. Really cool history. And so so I had these strong characters growing up, right? And so my abuelito, they hated injustices. These guys were hated injustice. They grew up in the border, in the ranch, right, in the rancho. So, strong-willed characters. And so that kind of always bubbled up into some of the characters in the Peso Hero, And so with La Patrona being, and that's the thing, I love watching novelas as a kid, And so one of my favorite ones, Cuna de Lobos, growing up.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Oh, hell yeah. Me llamo Catalina Krill.
Catalina Krill. Yes. Yes. And if you look, La Patrona, that's her with the eye patch and the hair.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, when it
it's
goes, yo soy el pequeño Edgar.
yes. Yes.
Oh my God. I've been wanting to rewatch that.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
We should do a watch party once a week, Sarah.
Oh God, for sure. Yes. I wonder how it would stand the test of time. But
Good. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It would be
Movie still
just as
slaps for me.
dramatic as ever.
But and that's how I write, because I write like, this character, Ignacio Rivera, his name, he loses his memory as a young kid, as he gets powers. He doesn't know who his true family is, not knowing that the family that he's fighting as he's older is the cartel family, is his very own family. The cartel family is his family.
wow.
He doesn't know. It's his cousin, Angel, and La Patrona, his grandmother run the cartel that he fights as he's older. But he doesn't know it.
Yeah. Do they know it?
No, they don't know.
Oh, okay.
But
Very
the reader does.
telenovela twist.
The
Yeah.
reader does.
Yeah.
The reader sees the this like train wreck happening about that. It does. And it does. 100%. And that's the thing. It's like I write with like a novella arc,
Yeah.
right? And that's the mainstream story arc, right? And so I have a mainstream story arc. Then I have like special issues, like border stories that will make the news, or like the Ukraine issue, the COVID issue. There's different parts of El Peso Hero that catches the eye. Like this one had the first Mexican Chinese hero. And so that was Univision did a story, and then also NPR and NBC Latino did a story on this book, Sicario War.
Yeah.
Because one of the subplots was really big.
That's awesome.
And so, it could, because I covered also the Chinese massacre that happened in Torreon during the Mexican Revolution. A lot of folks don't know that a lot of Chinese Mexicans were massacred, almost like a genocide type situation in Mexico. And so I needed to cover that, because that history is there in the border, but it needs to be told. And so that's how.
We find that we learn so much of our history and Latino history in the books that we read, because Latino writers really want to get the word out and share and be like, listen, this is not just Mexican history or South American or Central American history, but it's American history. And, you know, these are things that we never in the United States were taught and never knew about. And it's just so fascinating, the things that have happened that, you know, how they say you've got to learn your history or you're doomed to repeat it.
Exactly.
Well, with Border War, we want to give you a grand congratulations. You've already surpassed halfway. I didn't recheck today before we got on, but you were way past halfway when I looked last time. Congratulations on that. Yes, and we wanted to just know if you could tell us a little bit about the rewards that you're offering backers, and is there any exclusives that you are offering in Border War specifically?
Yes. Okay. So we got some amazing covers. We have Cannon White. You know, you see like this one. It's the one where it got this cover. His cover is a Peso Hero fighting the ICE Special Operations Unit.
Nice.
It has a special name, so he's like fighting. It's like you see, it's in the, it's like in the main cover in the Kickstarter. It's Cannon White. He's an amazing guy. I love him. He had a good run with Black Panther with Marvel, and so I mean these artists that I work with, they believe in the character. So much so they cut me a deal when they were.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
So,
it's art. It's artists, creatives helping creatives.
Right, because it's like, you know, I'm going to put my DC work aside here, you know, and I'll work on a Peso Hero. You know, it's like this little independent book, and so they love the story. They believe in the character and the message, and so that, you know, they'll work for it, you know, and so. And their passion shows through their art. And so you have Ariel Mandel as well. He worked with IDW. He did Street Fighter versus Ninja Turtles. He's doing some other great stuff. Ariel, so he has one where it's in the Mexico City. You have El Peso Hero fighting El Grito. Now, El Grito is a character that symbolizes the Mexican government, the classism, the elitism, the politics of Mexico. This guy it's like their corporate hero, like the class, and so he clashes with a Peso Hero because of just the classist struggle in Mexico, you know, and so he kind of talks down at him. You know, there'll be some like racist crap too, you know, and so it's there. And so El Grito makes an appearance, and he's kind of pivotal in the story. I won't go into much because it kind of goes into
spoiler territory.
Yeah, spoiler territory, right. And so it's a throwdown. It's fun. It's action, but there's a message right in between the layers, you know. And so, like I was saying, you know, I write with a 90s energy. You know, I go in with a bam, and we go, you know, I want to grab the reader, and that's how I start, you know, a lot of my stories too. You know, I try to just go into it, just boom, right there, you know, let's go, you know, and the narrative will follow. But you have some covers for the tiers as well, and I have one cool thing that that we got into once we cleared over 1,000. I added a new reward where you're able to get these amazing little mini posters for some of the favorite covers.
Cool.
From a puzzle, you get all of the Cannon White's covers and all of Ariel's covers as well. So there's 3 and 3. So you get this, and also you'll have like Be in the Comic Book, you know.
I love those. I love it when comic books put that as one of the options and one of the tiers.
You like get punched by a Peso Hero.
Very, very cool. Yeah. So we've already mentioned it a few times, and we've talked about it a little bit as well. But El Peso Hero has always been rich with social commentary. How does Border War specifically continue that tradition, and are there any current events or issues that influence this latest chapter?
Yes, it's the continuous history of American intervention in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I wrote El Peso Hero, I wrote it with a lot of history because I believe that a good story is rooted in history. And so with a deep history background, you see this very tumultuous relationship between Mexico and the United States, too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go from Spain into Texas being a territory of a state of Mexico to being, only Spanish speaking. You have to be, speak Spanish, be Catholic, no slaves, right? And so when the new immigrants came in, legal, non-legal, to Texas from the East Coast, from America, United States, Sam Houston brought his people. Some of them were not too happy with the new laws in Mexico, i.e. owning slaves.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided to revolt against Mexico and declare their independence, right? And so then the United States came along and said, okay, yeah, we believe in it too, so let's go fight Mexico, right? And so that alone, and then you have, you'll have history like in the Texas Rangers going to Mexico, burning Piedras Negras Coahuila as well, and then running away once the Mexican military starts rushing in. You have these interventions. Pancho Villa too.
Mm-hmm.
When Pancho Villa went into Columbus, and then he was chased by the American military all the way to Mexico. But then the Mexican military gave the American military an ultimatum: get out of Mexico. We're going to declare war. So they hightail out of there. It was General Pershing, yes, went into Mexico. Right. And so you
That guy.
Right. Yeah. And so, Robert E. Lee also was in Mexico too. And so you have these historical markers, but also in El Peso Hero too. Mm-hmm. Now you have an actual conflict between United States attacking Mexico through different targets, cartel targets, but infringing on the rights of Mexico as a nation too. Mm-hmm. It's a really cool thing. I actually have President Claudia Sheinbaum as a character too. She shows up. The Mexican president shows up as well, and so as well as Trompas too, and so just because it needed to be that realism needed to be there, right?
And he lends himself so easily to supervillainy.
But and I say this, I have fans that are from both sides of the political spectrum, believe it or not.
Yes, I don't believe it.
Because they love their border security and their that and the cartel. And there's a point to the criminal organizations that are there. There's a point there, of course. And then I'll do a story of NPR on immigration reform. But you know what? Fox News has never called me. I wonder why.
Well, it's been really cool listening about all the creative process and how you utilize history in your comic book. Can you tell us a bit more about the team that's working with you on this issue?
Yeah, and so I have our our artist Guillermo Villarreal. Guillermo focuses on the general story arc of El Peso Hero, like the novela of El Peso Hero. Mm-hmm. So Guillermo will focus on the arc, and then I have Chema. He's a Mexican artist. Also did some work for CHISPA, Pilote. He does special projects, and so he did a cover for the Peso Hero Border War. That's the war where he's getting bullets being bounced off from him. And of course, I have Cannon White. Did work for Marvel for Black Panther. He did a variant cover, also have Ariel Mendel also cover, and also cover to be soon released, shown Sergio Acuna, too. Currently
Oh.
working with Nightwing with DC Comics. He's he did an he's doing a cover for the Peso Hero currently. Believe that's a retail exclusive too.
Oh, nice.
So 15 books for $100. Yeah, so it's it's a diverse team, Argentina, Mexicano, Puertorriqueño, African American, Chicano, and so it's yeah, and so I write it, of course I write all the books, of course, I don't have, I'll do like a cover. The last cover I did was cover. I did Eagle Pass. I did a story on Eagle Pass last year. Peso Hero Pass, just because it's my hometown, and with the immigration crisis in my hometown, I needed an outlet, and so I wrote a mini story. I drew a mini story, and so you can get that as a add-on too, with Peso Hero Border War, because it's kind of like a precursor to it. And so I did the cover for Peso Hero Ukraine too, and that was a hot topic, surprisingly, because I got a lot of hate mail from the alt-right, from Republicans. Like,
How did they even find it?
It went viral, it went online. There's a lot of stories on it. It went viral, and so my website got knocked down by Russian bots.
Oh my goodness!
Whoa!
Real Robo Comics. Yep. So yeah, and then it was one of those things where I'm like, I thought you were all anti-Russian, but now you're pro-Russian. It's like, are you all like the team of like Ronald Reagan? I'm like, I'm confused, guys. Like, what's up? Because they're all like, I'm getting a lot of hate from the Republicans and all the alt-right, right?
Well, I gotta say, that is another level of success when your website is targeted by Russian bots.
Yeah. My dad was, my dad's always been a big fan, and so my dad's like, watch out, vato, watch out, because now you're dealing with like, like, híjole, no, papa, I'll be all right, papi, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, yeah, they knocked it down, and then it has never been the same again, because right now just kind of goes
wow. Oh, that's crazy. Well, with all of the stuff that has been going on over these last 14 years, you're here at your 17th installment. You are just launching it on Kickstarter. And one of the things, my husband is a creator too, one of the things that he gets very frustrated with is when he barely finishes something and someone asks him, well, what's next? When's the next one coming out? So I am going to, in honor of him, I'm going to ask you the same question. What's next for this series? Can fans expect more installments of Peso Hero, or are you planning on maybe exploring other projects?
No, absolutely. I mean, we'll be celebrating 15 years. It's la quinceañera. It's the quinceañera.
Oh, that's right. You gotta go big.
We have to. Yes, you have to throw a quince.
Right. But that's the thing. It's like, wait till you see the end of this book. It's like, wait till the ending. Wait till the ending of this book, because it's gonna build up for next book.
Okay.
Because when I write with the end in mind, and so the story arc is leading up to the 15th anniversary of Peso Hero next year.
Okay.
What's a quince without a little drama?
Right, exactly.
We can be the crazy ants.
Yeah.
We'll have like a pisteando aquí, We'll bring the cooler.
Sarah always has the cooler.
You don't have to ask me twice.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
But speaking of other projects, and we had talked about this earlier as well, how do initiatives like CHISPA help elevate Latino creators in the comic book industry, and what changes have you seen in the community since its inception?
Yeah, and so our main focus for CHISPA, we myself and David Bowles, with our partners from Mucho Mas and our current partners with Amp Comics, we want to have a road to the direct market for creators, for Latino creators. And so, because right now you have, direct to consumer, which is independent, us, going to our shows or cons, small press. Direct to consumer, digital, right? Digital content, crowdfunding, crowdfunding, and direct to market. So those are the current streams. The direct to market has always been very challenging for independent Latino creators, and so one of our main goals has been with CHISPA to open that road. Right, open that road. And so for us, we started 2022, and so it's been a challenging road to say the least, and so we've launched. We worked with Five Meats as well with Cashman and Grifty.
We love Mashbone and Grifty.
Yeah, hilarious. And they're like, we went to San Diego Comic Con to premiere it. It was our highlight. It was awesome. It was, I was like, hey, it's Imagine Rick and Morty, but funnier with all the messages.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
but funny, and so we had Thanks Romina and then Black Demon, the movie you can check out on Amazon. And so with the launch of the 13th, 13 superheroes with 13 creators, unique creators, all around the spectrum, and as well as Katrina's Caravan, our horror anthology too. And so we were settling, we're releasing them, and we came through some challenges in distribution with Scout Comics. And so we found new partners. We had disc agreements and distribution with Scout. And so we parted ways, and now we're relaunching CHISPA with Amp Comics. And our first upcoming book will be Rosario, which will be in theaters May 2nd.
Ooh,
wow.
Check it out. Rosario.
We gotta go.
Yes.
And so, and y'all let me know. I'll let you guys know about any screenings too. I'll be check out. So
great.
definitely, because there are gonna be some screenings.
Oh, cool.
And so, for Rosario, and Rosario is super. Imagine a Latino Evil Dead set in a New York City with Santeria.
Oh my goodness!
Brujeria, Santeria, yeah. It's good. It's good. I'm excited. So
I love me some of that stuff.
And so it's high tension. It's like it's stressful. It's a good stress. It's like when you're watching horror, you're kind of stressed. Like
a thriller.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. And so we also are launching a origin story based on the abuelita from Rosario. Her origin.
Oh,
right.
Cool.
And so because the Rosario follows the granddaughter, so and so the story, it's an origin story, will be out in July in comic book stores through Lunar as well as Diamond. There's some really awesome variant covers, kind of cool VHS covers. Remember the big VHS tapes?
Nice.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of like a callback to that. And Jeff, those covers were created by Jeff Sarnow, horror guy extraordinaire. He did awesome stuff for IDW for Godzilla. Currently doing Godzilla for Marvel too. So Jeff lent out his talents for those variants, and so after that, we're just going straight into our backlog because these books have been already to distribute. We're so excited. We're doing Black Demon Mechanica in August, and then we're doing another Black Demon in September with a new Katrina's Caravan, The Last Latinx. It's going to be awesome. Imagine a Latino zombie story, because we don't have our own zombie story, and so it's going to be a Latino zombie story. And I wrote it. It's called The Last Latinx. Um, but I wrote it before that. The Last of Us. I wrote it before Last of Us. I swear. Because which was like, hey, did you get that from The Last of Us? No, I didn't. I already had it. I already had it. The last, it's the last Latinx. And there's a twist and turns for that story as well. And so we're just going. We're gonna go with Thanks Romina, the graphic novel, and The Dusk, too. And so we're excited because we have a lot of great stories, and relaunching the 13th with our unique creators, going to direct market. And we'll have some creator-owned books as well coming up soon.
Awesome. That sounds really, really great. We've been talking a lot about comic books and stuff like that, but can you tell us more about the experience with Texas Latino Comic Con? And how does this event celebrate and support Latino creators and their work in the comic book world?
Yeah, so we'll be doing our 8th Texas Latino Comic Con, 8th year, August 9th, Saturday, in the Latino Culture Arts Center in Dallas. And so, and I have to pay my respects to Latinos Comics Expo, Long Beach, too, because that's where I was inspired, right? Because I remember having a conversation with Javier, and I'm like, hey, Javier, because this was 2012, 2013. And I'm like, hey, Javier, you got to have a Latino Comics Expo in Dallas. We got because I was in my year doing a Peso Hero, and I was getting a lot of attention from Univision. And then Richard Dominguez is here in Dallas, too. And I'm like, we have a lot of Latino creators here. You guys can do a show here, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, don't wait for me. Don't wait for us. Do your own show. And I'm like, oh, me, Mom?
Yeah. Like, I can do it.
Show. And so, and then it was, and then years later, I contacted, I worked in retail. And so I had a store at a mall. I was a GameStop manager. And so I had a GameStop store at a mall, which is very Latino centric, with mariachis every Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Wow. What an interesting
100%.
GameStop.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, right. And then I talking to the mall manager, and I'm like, hey, can you give me some space to do bring a bunch of Latino comic creators? And the guy was like stand up comedy, like we're gonna bring. Yeah. And so, who are you gonna bring? And I'm like, no, not comedy, like comic book. He still wasn't getting it. Like, they write comedy, and I'm like, dude, what? Right. So years later, right? Because I'm knees deep into Peso Hero, and then I visited. I was a guest at Frederick Aldama's Professor X, Profes Black and Brown Comic Expo in Columbus, Ohio. Right, I was a guest, right, and so I get there and I love the vibe, and we're all like, it's like it was awesome. It was small press. It was just comics.
Yeah.
It wasn't like una pulga, when everybody brings their wares. No offense to vendors that bring their toys and their stuff. No offense. There's definitely a place for there,
Yeah.
because they bring all their stuff, and it wasn't a pulga, like a flea market.
Yeah.
And so it was all comics.
Yeah.
It was cool, small press. And so I get back, and one of my friends, David Dow, he has a history of doing comic book shows here in North Texas. And he's like, Hector, where were you at? Oh, I was at the Brown and Black. He's like, oh, cool. How about we start it here and we do our own? Like, let's go. Let's do it. That was 2016. And then Elia came on board too, Elia Maria, and so we started 2017 doing a Texas Latino Comic Con at the Latino Culture Arts Center. Free event, free folks, free tables. And it was just all, comic books, small press, And then we were COVID. We were online for 2 years, And then the crowds, we did 2022, we came back live, and the crowds were low. And I was like, we got to bring people in. We got to do something. and I actually had a luchador guest. Aski was there. You know, he was there. He actual luchador. You know, he has his book and all that. He got his comic out, and then I'm like, hey Aski, hey man, I have an idea. Let's do a shoot. What's your idea? Ellie and I are going to be at the. We're going to be doing the cosplay contest, but I want you to come and interrupt me, and you're going to challenge me to a lucha libre match.
You.
Right, and so this is us planning.
Uh-huh.
We're doing a shoot, right? But yet nobody knows. Not even Elia, which she's like
Oh my goodness.
on the mic. She had no idea.
That's funny.
Right? And so we're like, you know, we're wrapping up. You know, we give out the awards. You know, and the kids are out. They had a crowd up in the. It's kind of a theater place, you know. And then you hear somebody that walking down the aisle with a slow clap. Right? Right? Yeah, you should check out the video. It's on Instagram. And I'm there like looking through the light, you know, like, well, who's that? Who's clapping? And then I'm like, hey, sir, the cosplay contest is over, man. Because he's got his luchador mask, right? He's got coming with a tux, with his tuxedo. And I'm like, dude, sorry, the contest is over, man. And he's like, I'm not here for that. I'm not here for the contest. I'm here for you.
Oh.
And I'm like,
Wow.
and then Ellie is like, Hector, should I call the cops? She's like, should I call the security or like? No, I'm like, let's see how this plays out. Let's see how this plays out.
That's crazy.
Oh my god.
And
The drama. I love it.
Right. Oh no, it gets better. And so he walks up, you know, the stage and grabs the mic. It's like, hey, you know, you talk about, you know, comics and Mass Republic, you know, Lucha Libre books, blah, blah, but you don't know anything, blah, blah, blah. You know what? You know, if you think you're so badass, I'm going to challenge you to next year's Texas Latino Comic Con. We'll have a Lucha Libre match right here. And as we're winging it. Improv, right?
Yeah.
You know, and then everybody's like, boo, no, say no. You know,
Say no.
Say no.
Don't do it, man.
You know, and so I'm like, all right. I'm like, okay. We shake hands. And no, this guy can't believe this disrespected you. This Latino violence. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, and they went on social media and started like throwing crap. You know, I can't believe he did that to you, you know.
Uh-huh.
And and so we built it up. We took a year to build it up.
Wow.
And you know, I did a montage of me working out, you know.
The Rocky song in the background.
Right. And so, and then we actually did and then the local media picked it up too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and I actually had a belt made.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And so you can check it out. It's on Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely.
We have to
Right.
now.
Yeah. And so, and and so we did the belt. Here, I'm trying to show you here. And so, and we had it here, and when it actually happened, yeah. So you can.
Oh my goodness.
That's crazy.
Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
God.
That's some
Yeah.
good marketing right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then like the CBS, like the English version, did a whole story on it. You know. It's the right. It's the and so and there's a twist. Of course, there's a twist. It's lucha libre. It's a twist. You
Yeah.
know. And so the crowd is there, you know, waiting for me to come out. You know, because I hyped it up like I was gonna wrestle, 100%. It was like the crowd. It was a packed crowd in the Latino Culture Arts Center.
Oh, that's great.
Wow.
Right. It was like standing room. There were like, and so I show up, but I'm in crutches.
Oh my
Oh.
God.
I got hurt. I got hurt.
No.
I got hurt, and so I'm like,
Couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it, but I found somebody that actually could,
Oh.
and that was Oski's arch nemesis.
Oh.
Wow.
What?
Right. Yeah. And so, and he comes out, and then people are like, Hector's the bad guy. He's the heel. started throwing mangas and stuff, and then one kid was like, no, Mr. Rodriguez, no, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. Well, 'cause I'm an educator, right? So I had to, some.
Yeah.
So no, and so I was the bad guy. I was the bad guy. And, yeah, and then we and that storyline has been continuing on actually.
But we've
That's
been
fun.
missing out.
Yeah. Time to head to Texas Latino Comic Con.
Road trip to Texas.
Seriously.
Well, with Texas Latino Comic Con and all of the amazing stuff you've done over the years, and then now with your also work with CHISPA, how has those two things shaped your perspective on the role of representation in comics? Why do you believe it's so important for Latino creators to have a presence in mainstream comics?
Definitely in mainstream, our community has always been there behind us, 100%. Whatever we do, our community has always been there. And that's one of the things that I always been very grateful for, because it's always been us going for us, helping, our bringing the next generation of creators. And that's what I've seen in Texas Latino Comic Con, seeing those voices being uplifted, seeing because it's a lot of folks, not also Latinos, but other folks from other walks of life go in and see stories that other perspectives, right? It's like a comic book is so strong, you put yourself in somebody else's shoes, right? And so you see these voices, and it's so positive. The positivity is amazing, it's contagious. You have these kids, going in and seeing themselves in these creators, and being inspired, creating their own books. And our community is there. But when it comes down to the direct market, the mainstream comic book market, we still have a lot of inroads. We have a lot of creators out there that are fighting the good fight. You have your freaking Milestone Initiative, that's Milestone, making roads with, and so give mis mil respetos, Milestone, because they always inspired me. Static Shock growing up too. I love Static Shock,
Yeah.
and so but it's in the editorial room where changes need to happen between the big three, and one of the things that we found out working CHISPA in the mainstream direct to market is, basic, and this is where David Bowles has fought a lot. We would get a lot of this. We would get, the superhero market is saturated. We don't need superhero books. You mean your market is saturated, but Latino superheroes? No. We don't have enough.
Yeah.
They're none. And so, no, it's not saturated for us. No, we'll still have a lot of inroads to make for Latino super in the Cape stories.
Yeah.
That alone, right? And so we would get a lot of, we would get a lot of that. Striding with the 13. Hey, you have too many hero books. You have too many Cape stories. And I cut those back. No. We don't. There's a need. Look at us.
Yeah.
Imagine comic book editors saying, and publishers, it's too many superheroes. Like, honestly, imagine people saying,
sorry, Robert Kirkman, Invincible, the animated series. No, there's too many superhero animated shows. I'm sorry.
Just say what you mean. Say what you mean. You don't want brown people being heroes.
Yeah.
We still have a lot of inroads to make. And so that's in the challenges. It takes unity. It takes all of us to, between the retail to the publishing to the consumer. All those are connections that need to be strengthened together.
As a little addendum to that question, as a retailer myself, have you found a lot of support from retailers across the board? And in turn, also, how can retailers support you better?
Yeah, actually, I've been very thankful for my comic shop. Well, they closed now. So, Carpe Diem Comics has always had indie, has always had CHISPA books, and they actually had me a huge El Peso Hero poster. They hung up in front of their store.
Oh, that's awesome.
In downtown McKinney, Texas, one of the reddest places,
Yeah.
And so they supported our stories, and basically it's about relationship building, 100%. And as a creator, supporting your store too, especially on everything you do. On when you do our conventions, you have to uplift them as well, not also yourself, but and so until and so right now I'm working with Titan Comics and Madness Comics and Games here in Dallas too, and so I'll be doing a free comic book day at Titan Comics in Dallas, and so it's a relationship. For creators, you gotta network, you gotta help each other out.
Yeah,
you gotta uplift them as well. Share them on social media because they need the foot traffic. They need new readers. You gotta bring new readers in.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. Is there anything else you would like to share regarding El Peso Hero Border War campaign? And where can listeners find more information about the campaign and your other works?
Yes, 100%. Thank you so much for supporting the crowdfunding campaign. It's so stressful.
Yes.
It is. And that's why my wife gets annoyed whenever I do a Kickstarter. Because it takes, I started, months beforehand. And so, you can go to Kickstarter. You can also go on the social media websites too. You can check out the Substack for any independent comic book talk as well. There's also going to be a mainstream story on El Peso Hero next month, very soon. So check out for that too. And I'll be doing Free Comic Book Day at Titan Comics, May 3rd, Saturday. And for CHISPA, order Rosario Origins coming out in July as well. And check out Rosario movie coming out May 2nd at your local theater.
Yay!
Can't wait. That sounds so cool. Well, thank you so much for being on our show, and we're so happy that your campaign is doing so well. And for everybody out there listening, definitely check it out. Go on social media, check it out, El Peso Hero, and then check out on Kickstarter. Just type in El Peso Hero, and it should come right up. But thank you so much for being here and sharing your time with us. We have been your host. I'm Sarah.
I'm Kristen.
And I'm Jen.
And like and share on social media and subscribe.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye!